yeah, we want retribution. Oh yeah, we want retribution. Oh yeah, we want retribution. Yeah, we ran out of patience. Boil up with the cold hard hatred. I can feel the vibration. Beat in the streets, it's a new sensation. I wanna break faces on the pavement. I wanna make greatness look complacent. Adrenaline awakened, I can taste it. We can make an impact, grab it and take it. Like a disease, bring them to their knees. Take the thing to see. Rage is like the weekend.
Oh, baby, it is WrestleMania weekend, and we got a big two-night event ahead of us. And I greatly appreciate each and every single one of you joining us here today, or joining me here today, because I am flying solo today. I hope you all have had a wonderful Saturday afternoon thus far. And if you guys are unaware of who I am, then please allow me to reintroduce myself. Ladies and gentlemen, I am the one and only DJ Storms, and I would like to welcome each and every single one of you to a very special edition of The Rewind. No LFU. No LFU. Unfortunately, this is not the greatest show on earth, but it is the third greatest show on earth, I will say. The Rundown being number 2, the LFU being number 1. We got plenty of good shit to talk about as we are on stream number 3 out of a 5-stream streak. And we are continuing to build our momentum as the DJ Storms brand just continues to get bigger and bigger. As of course, you already know who I am, Mr. Controversy, and the operator of the Best Damn X, formerly known as Twitter, handle known to mankind. And you bet your ass that when you take in that inhale, you smell the scent of pure motherfucking excellence. This is the official rewind for Ring of Honor, Supercard of Honor, and NXT Stand and Deliver 2024. Supercard of Honor, of course, streamed live from Philly last night, April 5th at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. That's when 0 Hour started. And then NXT Stand and Deliver started today at 11 a.m. and it went until around 2:45 p.m. And the NXT brand took over the city of brotherly love, and we got ourselves 2 big-time events for 2 separate brands, in addition to the 2 nights of WrestleMania. Now, I know that there's going to be a lot of people out there who are going to question, well, why are you still covering NXT? Why are you covering Ring of Honor? You don't cover their weekly shows. You even said it yourself that you don't care about some of the things that happen on these brands because these brands are essentially lifeless. Now, I want to let everyone know that I am a professional wrestling fan. I've always been a pro wrestling fan. And when I watch a show, hell, when I invest my time or money in anything, not even just pro wrestling, if I am investing my time and or money in a service, whether it be an entertainment service, food service, landscaping service, I don't ask for much. I don't ask for much except for one thing. All I ask is that the individual or individuals that are providing me said service, all I ask is that they put effort into what they do. Ring of Honor has essentially been AEW Dark 2.0, and I have said that numerous amounts of times. NXT, perhaps the worst brand in the entire fucking industry. I've said that numerous amounts of times. Both of those statements are facts. Both of these brands have zero heat going into them. Both of these brands do not have anything going for them, and little to no one really cares about these brands. These brands are essentially afterthoughts. When you take a look at the pro wrestling totem pole, NXT and Ring of Honor are numbers 1 and 2 that are at the bottom of the totem pole when you're talking about weekly wrestling program. This is not public. This is not a public secret, okay? Everyone, and I mean everyone, already knows this, or at least everyone with a brain knows this. But if there's one thing that was proven this weekend, all I can tell you is, and again, I've stated this numerous amounts of times, but it seems as though it just goes in one ear and out the other. If people would listen to me, I don't give a fuck how arrogant I sound, but if people listen to me, things would work out a lot better for them. If there's one thing that was proven this weekend, when we're talking about NXT Stand and Deliver and Ring of Honor Supercard of Honor, it's the fact that I was right. Again, when you put effort into what you're doing, when you put effort into the things that you put out there for the public to consume, you are ultimately going to get yourselves something great. And the people are going to invest their time in it, and there's going to be significantly less people that are going to go out of their way to complain. Ring of Honor has essentially been AEW Dark 2.0. That's a fact. NXT is the worst brand in the industry. That is a fact. Too much shitty soap opera drama over there. But if there's one thing that this weekend proved across Supercard of Honor and Stand and Deliver, it's the fact that if Tony Khan and Shawn Michaels put effort into these two brands, we would have ourselves two very solid shows to invest our time in on Tuesdays and Thursdays. You take a look at Ring of Honor, Supercard of Honor, and the great matches that they produced. You take a look at the sense of urgency that NXT Stand and Deliver had. You take a look at the pro wrestling across the board and what these two shows did. All it takes is effort. And if we get these types of shows, if we get this type of effort every Tuesday and Thursday, then both brands would be better off for it. And I really do wish, I really do wish that one of them, at least one of them, is listening, because I don't want to come on here and bitch and moan and complain about a lack of effort from NXT's side, or the fact that Ring of Honor is nothing more than enhancement talent matches and there's no genuine structure on Ring of Honor, or the fact that NXT constantly uses main roster talent. I don't want to sit here and complain. But Tony Khan, he doesn't put any effort into Ring of Honor. Shawn Michaels, clearly he's got his head in the fucking clouds when it comes to NXT. But when it comes to the pay-per-views that we saw this weekend, they proved that if you put effort into your product, you put effort into what you are giving out to the public to consume, then at the end of the day, it will ultimately be looked at as a success. You give us effort, and we will give you our time. I only wish that things would be a little bit more consistent. I really do. Supercard of Honor and NXT Stand and Deliver. Two very good shows. And perhaps the two best shows that they could have started off WrestleMania weekend with. Both the NXT brand and the Ring of Honor brand did what they needed to do. They invested the proper amount of time in these shows. They gave all matches ample amount of time for the most part, and we ended up getting two very solid shows and a lot of great wrestling scattered across these nearly 8 hours, I would say. It may very well be longer than 8 hours, probably 9 hours of professional wrestling that we saw, and we haven't even gotten to night one of WrestleMania yet. We have a lot to talk about. We're going to dissect both of these shows. I'm not going to go too in-depth because I really don't want to go 3 hours on this stream because I got to get home and I got to prepare myself for WrestleMania night number 1. Couple of self-brand promotion and advertisements before we get into the festivities here. Take a look at the ticker down below. You can follow me. Follow me on X and Instagram at HistoryMakerDJS. One more time, at HistoryMakerDJS. Both of those links are in the description. For collaborations and business inquiries, please send me an email. My email is, of course, StormsTakeOver@gmail.com. Please make sure that you like the official DJ Storms business page. And I made you send you an invite to join the official DJ Storms Posse group on Facebook. That is, all of those links are in the description of the stream if you're watching on Facebook or YouTube. We are live on 4 different platforms and 5 different accounts. We're on the DJ Storms Posse group on Facebook, the DJ Storms business page, my YouTube channel, my X account, and my Rumble account. We're looking to build a solid following over on Rumble, so if you haven't already done so, please go and follow me over on Rumble so that way we can build ourselves a nice, solid foundation of supporters over there. In addition to that, please make sure that you hit the super chats. Got to hit the super chats, and you got to hit the super stickers. Or if you want to, you can also send me a super thanks. It is incredibly vital that you do so. Please show some love to the DJ Storms brand, considering that this is the biggest weekend in the history of the DJ Storms brand. We already had 1 super sticker. Hopefully we can get some more this month. It is incredibly vital that you do so. So please, if you want to show me some support, please send me the super chats, the super thanks, and the super stickers. In addition to that, please make sure that you hit the subscribe button if you're watching on YouTube, or if you're watching on Facebook or X or Rumble, hit the like button and share the stream out on all platforms of social media, whether it be X, Instagram, Facebook, Pinterest, Tumblr, Snapchat, TikTok, Twitch, whatever social media platforms that you may be using. Get as many people in here as possible, because everyone needs their dosage of DJ Shizzle Dizzle, the best motherfucking wrestling analyst on the planet. And if you don't like that fact, you can suck my fucking dick. I'm sorry, I don't make the rules. Yes, I do. On top of all that, please make sure when you hit the subscribe button on my channel, you hit that notifications bell with a huge coup de grace, because that way you are going to know whenever I pop up on YouTube. Because whenever I pop up on YouTube, oh, baby, it is the best motherfucking time to be on YouTube. It is the only time that you are going to get to see this glorious sideburn chin strap combination and this beautiful mustache right here. You already know what time it is, baby. Look at what it says right there. It says, "Fear the beard," this customized wooden comb, and we're going to light it up right here on the rewind, a special dual rewind for Ring of Honor, Supercard of Honor, and Stand and Deliver. We're going to light it up with a little and a dash of and a whole lot of because like a hot, fresh Subway wrap. Did you know that Subway has wraps now? It's absolutely fucking unbelievable. Subway's got wraps. And I just had one. I had a steak and cheese wrap, and my oh my, was it fucking delicious. One would even say that it was good. It was scrumptious, just like I'm scrumptious, just like I am the tastiest snack in the IWC, and everybody wants a piece of the Storms Meister. Anyway, enough of the self-brand promotion, the advertisements. Let's get straight into the festivities here. Let's talk about Ring of Honor, Supercard of Honor first. Clear as day, Ring of Honor, Supercard of Honor was not given that much of a build. The build was very lackluster. Tony Khan pretty much pieced it together last minute because he's got all this shit going on AEW TV with Ospreay, Okada, and Mercedes. He's building to Dynasty, and then he's got Double or Nothing and Forbidden Door. He's still promoting All In. He's got all this shit going on. And he didn't put a lot of effort into building up Ring of Honor, Supercard of Honor. However, the actual show, I would go so far as to say that this was probably the best Ring of Honor show that was produced since Final Battle 2022. I remember Final Battle 2022 like it was yesterday. My God, that show was perhaps one of the best shows of the entire fucking year. That show was one of the best shows of the entire fucking year, headlined by the Briscoes versus FTR for the Ring of Honor World Tag Team Championships. And my God, it was an absolute fucking war. Absolutely loved it. Double dog collar match. We'll never forget it. Ring of Honor, Supercard of Honor had a great crowd. It had a great crowd. It may have gone a little bit too long. Matter of fact, I can name you a match or two that I would have taken off the show. But regardless of that, it was a great show for the 3 hours and 30 minutes that it went. We started off with 0 Hour. Really nothing of substance on 0 Hour. We had 2 decent matches on 0 Hour, and that was pretty much that. It was pretty much an enhancement show. It was an enhancement hour of the show, and it had absolutely nothing going for it. We had the varsity athletes. This was Tony Nese, Ari Daivari, and Josh Woods. They returned to trios action, and they took on Tony Deppen, Rhett Titus, and Adam Priest. Kind of disappointing, because I wanted to see Chris Sabin and Alex Shelley, the Motor City Machine Guns, although we could still see the Motor City Machine Guns because they are now free agents. Dynasty is coming up. Maybe we see the Motor City Machine Guns make their debut at Dynasty and surprise the winner of the World Tag Team title tournament between FTR and the Young Bucks. Because I have a feeling that FTR will win the semifinal match tonight against Top Flight. But this was pretty much a standard enhancement match. Nothing to go back and rewatch. Varsity athletes look fine, but you could have easily done without this. No reason why this should have been on 0 Hour. Varsity athletes win. Not sure where they're going, but clearly they're trying to build up some people in the trios division for Ring of Honor. You already got the Bang Bang Gang, Bullet Club Gold, that is Jay White and the Guns, as the Ring of Honor World Six-Man Tag Team Champions. So we could potentially see some new challengers make their way into the six-man tag team title hunt, although I'm not sure how you're going to do that because they're 2 heels. Varsity athletes win, and that was pretty much that. We had Blake Christian versus the Beast Mortos. For those of you that are wondering, the Beast Mortos is actually Black Taurus from AAA. He fought El Hijo del Vikingo back at Final Battle for the AAA Mega Championship. Really impressed the shit out of me. Now he's going under the name of the Beast Mortos. And this only went about 8-9 minutes, but this was a damn good match for what it was. Blake Christian, severely underrated, and the Beast Mortos, I was wildly impressed by him back at Final Battle. So I was looking forward to seeing what else he could do. And this was clearly a showcase match, but these two, for the 10 minutes that it went, these two brought everything to the table. A lot of good stuff right here. Ripcord power slams, tornado DDTs, nice tope con heroes. We had this great spot, and the Beast Mortos did the same thing to Vikingo back at Final Battle. He delivered a military press, an avalanche military press off of the middle rope, and Blake Christian went flying down off the top into the mat, looked awesome, and then Mortos delivered the pump handle pile driver, or some people may call it the awful waffle, and Mortos gets the win. Damn good match for what it was. Really, really, really good showcase for both of these guys. And if they want to, I honestly believe that these two guys could be centerpieces of Ring of Honor if Tony Khan does want to split the rosters, make Ring of Honor their developmental brand with a couple of big names attached to it, and build up some new stars like a Blake Christian or like a Beast Mortos. I do believe that we could get a really, really solid foundation of young talent with Mortos and Blake Christian at the centerpiece of things. So I hope that at some point in the future, Tony Khan will indeed develop a sense of structure for Ring of Honor, because these two could be great great centerpieces of the developmental brand for AEW. Griff Garrison and Cole Carter versus Angelico and Serpentico. This storyline fucking sucks. Griff Garrison and Cole Carter, they don't even look like a fucking tag team. Don't even know why they broke Maria away from Taven and Bennett. If anything, Maria should be involved with the Undisputed Kingdom. She would fit that group like a fucking glove, because whatever the fuck's going on in Ring of Honor with Cole Carter and Griff Garrison, this shit ain't clicking. This shit ain't working. And Angelico and Serpentico, I mean, who the fuck gives a damn about him? Who cares about him? Who cares about Serpentico and Angelico? And it sucks for me to say, because Angelico is actually a really good wrestler, but this shit is terrible. These types of storylines, the stolen property storylines, I shit on them when WWE did them, and I'm going to shit on them here in Ring of Honor. Not necessary, should have never been a thing. I don't know what the fuck you do with a guy like Angelico or a guy like Serpentico. I don't know what the fuck you do with Griff Garrison and Cole Carter, but whenever I look at these guys, I see jobbers. Whenever I look at these guys, I see jobbers. I look at these guys and I can name you so many fucking people, and I mean so many fucking people, virtually the entire fucking roster of Ring of Honor talent that are better than each one of these individuals. All four of these guys are at the bottom of the barrel when it comes to talent. Truth be told, if Tony Khan is going to continue releasing some individuals like the Boys or an Anthony Henry or people like Dasha, if Tony Khan is going to release some more people, I hope that these four are actually on the chopping block. Not because I want to see them lose their jobs, but in the end, what do they offer? What do they offer? They offer nothing. And four of these guys, these four guys, could easily find work anywhere else. If you don't think that they're doing other shit outside of Ring of Honor, then clearly you got another thing coming. Tony Khan is ultimately just wasting his money if he's going to continue to pour money into these four guys. Griff Garrison pulled the mask off of Serpentico, and Cole Carter rolled up Serpentico to get the win. No one gives a shit. The storyline is terrible. Mariah May, she took on Momo Kogo. And this was actually a very, very, very solid match between these two women. Mariah May, I'm telling you, Mariah May, the fact that she's been getting a lot of showcase in recent weeks, you could tell that Tony Khan has some heavy investment in Mariah May. Really, really, really heavy investment in Mariah May. And I am very, very pleased to see that Mariah May is being positioned as one of the top young prospects under Tony Khan. Because when Mariah May finally branches out on her own, when she's able to develop enough momentum to stand on her own without Tony Storm, Mariah May is going to shine, and she's going to shine bright. And I'm very, very pleased to see what they're doing with Mariah May. Mariah May ended up getting the win here with a German suplex followed by a V-trigger right underneath the jaw. First time seeing Momo Kogo, and she's not bad. She's not bad whatsoever. However, I think we all know who we are invested in at this very moment. It's Mariah May, because Mariah May, she is the future of the AEW women's division. You could have easily just done the Mariah May match and the Blake Christian versus the Beast Mortos match. No reason for 4 matches on the 0-hour kickoff. You should have just done 2, and those 2 should have stood as the 2 lone matches on 0 hour. You could have given them a little bit more time, and ultimately things would have worked out good. No need for 4 matches. 2 out of the 4 of those matches, completely fucking meaningless. The main show kicked off with Kyle Fletcher versus Lee Johnson. This is for the Ring of Honor World Television Championship. Ethan Page is nowhere to be found. Lee Johnson was on a 9-match winning streak, and they elected to give Lee Johnson the match at Supercard against Kyle Fletcher. You want to know what I really hate about professional wrestling nowadays? Specifically with WWE. And again, I'm not trying to be tribalistic, but one thing that I really despise about WWE is the fact that they have a roster that probably has some of the best youthful talents that the industry has ever seen in its entire history. I want you to think about the young talent that they got over there. Guys like Johnny Gargano, Tommaso Ciampa, Chad Gable, Bronson Reed, Cedric Alexander, Dragon Lee, and Axiom, Nathan Fraser, Braun Breaker. On the women's side, you got a Candice LeRae and an Ivy Nile. You got women like Tegan Knox, Kairi Sane, and Dakota Kai, Zoe Stark. And yet, WWE barely gives them crumbs when it comes to this big buffet that WWE has spread amongst us. It's like WWE, they give everything to people like Cody and McIntyre and The Rock and Roman and Becky and Bayley and Rhea, and then the people like a Cedric and a Dragon Lee, Santos Escobar, and people like Candice LeRae, they get the table scraps. WWE does not know how to book their youth. WWE does not know how to book the youth of the company. There are very few people that are exceptions to that. Rhea Ripley, for example, is an exception to that. But how many Rhea Ripleys do we have on the roster? One. Not even an Io Sky. Not even an Io Sky is showcased the way that she should be showcased. Hell, if we want to be honest right here, Rhea Ripley's title reign has been completely fucking meaningless outside of the last couple of months. Rhea Ripley has not had a good title reign minus the last couple of months. Minus the great match that she had with Ivy Nile at Raw Day 1, minus the main event of Elimination Chamber, and then minus the match that we're going to get tonight with Becky and Rhea. I mean, you take a look at Rhea's title reign, and her title reign has been an afterthought. Her title reign has been an afterthought. Not even Rhea gets the proper treatment. When it comes to Tony Khan, I don't give a fuck what you want to say about him. You can call him a fucking money mark. You can call him a weak human being. You could say he's not a real boss, all you want. But at the end of the day, if there's one thing that Tony Khan knows how to do, Tony Khan knows how to handle the youth. Tony Khan knows how to book and produce the youth of the business. Lee Johnson and Kyle Fletcher had absolutely nothing going for them other than the fact that it was a title match on a pay-per-view. That's it. That was the story. That was the story. That was what the entire match was based around. Kyle Fletcher is defending the Ring of Honor World TV Championship against Lee Johnson because Lee Johnson has been on a win streak. There you go. Lee Johnson, who has barely been given anything. If we're going to be quite honest here, he's been given essentially nothing. Lee Johnson, someone that came into AEW through the Nightmare Factory, through Cody Rhodes, right? Through the Nightmare Factory, through Cody Rhodes, and he has been given no opportunity to showcase what he can really do up until this point. He's been given no showcase, right? None. And yet, why is it that Lee Johnson, a guy who has been doing fuck all for the last couple years, and Kyle Fletcher, who we all know is a beast, Fletcher, who's been getting more of a showcase than Lee Johnson in the biggest match of his career up until this point, how is it that Lee Johnson could very well end up putting on a better match than half the shit that we see on WrestleMania this weekend? Why is it that Tony Khan gives the opportunities to the younger generation? Why is it that we are not seeing guys like a Cedric Alexander or a Dragon Lee or a Santos Escobar or a Candice LeRae? Why are we not seeing people like that put on matches like this on WWE TV? I don't understand. I really don't. Look at this match. Go back and watch this match for 25 fucking minutes. 25 fucking minutes. Go and watch this match and then tell me that the future of the business is not bright. This was easily the best match of Lee Johnson's career, and I'm going to go out and I'm going to say that this was, up until this point in which I am speaking, this was a match of the year candidate. This was a match of the year candidate. Imagine that. Lee Johnson. Fuck all Lee Johnson. Nobody. People want to call him Big Shotty. Big nobody. Lee Johnson went out there and just put on one of the best matches that you'll see all year. In front of 3,000 people at Ring of Honor, Supercard of Honor, on Honor Club. Guy was given an opportunity. And my, oh my, did he make the most of it. There were points in times during this match where I thought that Lee Johnson was actually going to win the championship. I had it in my mind that Fletcher was going to take it easily. And then as the match progressed and the story that they told in that ring, I'm thinking to myself, holy shit, they may very well give Lee Johnson the Ring of Honor World TV Championship. Absolutely incredible match. Incredible match. Matter of fact, you know what this reminded me of? This reminded me of Full Gear 2021, where MJF and Darby Allin, they had the first match on the main show, right? And that match was the best match on the show. This right here, Kyle Fletcher and Lee Johnson, this was their MJF Darby Allin moment. There was no match on Ring of Honor, Supercard of Honor that came close to this. None. Absolutely incredible. Crowd was great. Johnson, he wrestled as if he was in the main event of fucking WrestleMania. Never mind Supercard of Honor. Excellent shit. Really good near falls. Couple of frog splashes. I thought that Johnson had at one. Fletcher with some big moves, some kicks, some spinning tombstone pile drivers, some last ride power bombs. Johnson kept on fighting. In the end, Fletcher finally put down Johnson with a running kick in the corner and a brainbuster on the top turnbuckle. And Kyle Fletcher retains the Ring of Honor World Television Championship. Kyle Fletcher, if you are not familiar with Kyle Fletcher, if you do not think Kyle Fletcher is the future of the fucking business, as is Lee Johnson, if you do not think that these guys are the future of the business and these guys are not going to make pro wrestling better, you are a complete fucking retard. Kyle Fletcher is an absolute fucking stud. Kyle Fletcher at 25, my age, 25, Kyle Fletcher, he is a fucking main event level talent. He's a superstar. Kyle Fletcher is a star. From this point on, you will address Kyle Fletcher as nothing else but a fucking star. Absolutely incredible match. Easily the best match on the show and potentially match of the year up until this very point. And in the end, I may very well end up putting this match on my top 10 list. I'm not even bullshitting you. I may very well put this match on my top 10 list. Kyle Fletcher retains, and it works out beautifully. Everything worked out perfectly. It went off as good as it could possibly go off. Kyle Fletcher now has a title defense on a pay-per-view. Lee Johnson just had the match of his fucking life. Kyle Fletcher continues to build his reputation as one of the brightest young stars in the industry. And now we look towards Death Before Dishonor, where Ethan Page can take the championship off of Kyle Fletcher. It was the best case scenario, And my, oh my, if you guys have the opportunity, go out of your way to watch this match. Go out of your way to watch this match. You are not going to regret it. We had ourselves Azumi, Saya Kamitani, and Tam Nakano versus Mina Shirakawa, Meika, and Mei Serra. This was the Stardom Showcase match for the 6 women in Stardom. Now, if I was booking this show, I probably wouldn't have put this match on the show to begin with. I wouldn't have put this match on the show to begin with. I said that this was the piss break match, and I didn't give a fuck about it initially. However, I will admit, and I will give credit to the 6 women that went in there. This was as good as you could possibly get for a showcase match. All 6 women went in there. They did what they needed to do. It was fast-paced. It was fluid. We had a lot of hard-hitting strikes. And ultimately, in the end, we got a fairly decent trios match for the women. We got a fairly decent trios match. The crowd was actually into it at certain points in the match. And that was pretty much that. Kamitani. She hit an enziguri. On Mina Shirakawa, but Mina Shirakawa, she ended up taking advantage and she hit a Fire Thunder driver, and Mina Shirakawa wins it for herself, Meika, and Mei Serra in what was a fairly decent showcase match for Stardom. Not needed. And I am going to be honest. I'm always upfront with you. Not needed. But it was a fairly decent match for what it was. Afterwards, Mariah May came out and she embraced Mina. Mariah May then popped open some champagne and they all toasted in celebration of them winning the match, and they toasted for Stardom because Mariah May came from Stardom. That was pretty much that. I will say that all 6 women, they gave the best performance that they could possibly give for the time that they went in front of an American audience. I want to see a little bit more of them. And I do believe that we will end up seeing some more Stardom individuals involved in Ring of Honor at some point. The Undisputed Kingdom. This is Mike Bennett and Matt Taven. They took on the Infantry, Bad News and Tattoos, Carly Bravo, and the Captain Sean Dean. There was a lot of young talent on Ring of Honor Supercard of Honor. A lot of young talent and I mean a lot of relative unknowns. A lot of people that are not showcased heavily on AEW TV. And you know what? I think that we should keep that going forward because that is what's going to differentiate Ring of Honor from AEW TV. You got the bigger stars on AEW TV, and you got the underground individuals, the up-and-comers on Ring of Honor. Now, the Infantry. The Infantry, I've been seeing them on Ring of Honor, and they were basically a jobber tag team on Ring of Honor. For quite a while. However, I've been keeping my eye on them recently, and you can sense that they have been slowly starting to develop a nice streak of solid matches for themselves. They've been slowly starting to develop a reputation of, hey, we're not just an enhancement team. We can deliver a fucking great match if we are given the opportunity to. And that's exactly what we got. We got a very good match for what it was with the Undisputed Kingdom. Not better than the match with FTR. Taven and Bennett are one of the most underrated tag teams on the planet right now. But if you want to compare them to FTR, I mean, you take a look at FTR. FTR is one of the greatest tag teams, if not the greatest tag team in professional wrestling history. So as we speak, if you want me to compare the two, gun to my head, Infantry had a better match with FTR, but then again, it is FTR. And FTR, they could lead 2 blow-up dolls to a 5-star classic. But regardless, this was a very good match for what it was, and it did help add to the reputation that the Infantry is trying to build. And you know what? If they keep this up, they're going to end up finding themselves a permanent spot on AEW TV. And I'm going to be very happy to see that. So Shawn Dean was isolated by Bennett. We had Shawn Dean coming back with a tope con hero onto both men on the floor. And then the Undisputed Kingdom took over by hitting a pile driver, a spike pile driver on Dean on the wooden ramp. A table was then set up at ringside. Bravo was isolated, and the Undisputed Kingdom slowed the pace down. Bravo got the tag to Shawn Dean. We had a big lariat and a butterfly backbreaker. German suplex with a bridge for a 2 count. Death Valley driver and just the tip of the knee by the Undisputed Kingdom. That got a 2 count. We had the Proton Pack connecting, but Bravo saved it. Things then started to break down. They hit Boot Camp, but Bennett saved it again. The Infantry now on the outside. Bennett followed. We had an assisted Uranage on the ramp. In came Matt Taven. Matt Taven was then taken out by Carly Bravo. Carly Bravo was then on the table. He put Taven on the table. Carly Bravo was on the ramp. Taven was on the table. Carly Bravo dove off of the ramp, threw Matt Taven through the table. Very nice spot there. Both men were effectively taken out for the time being. Shawn Dean then with a splash off of the top, but the referee was out. I'm not sure where the ref got taken out, but I do believe that the referee was out momentarily. All of a sudden, in comes Wardlow. Out of nowhere, Wardlow, who was given the orders from Adam Cole to protect the titles that the Undisputed Kingdom currently has. Clothesline by Wardlow. Dean turned inside out. Bennett makes the cover. Stephon Smith comes into the ring. 1, 2, 3. And the Undisputed Kingdom retain the Ring of Honor World Tag Team Championships as expected. Clearly, they were not going to lose the championships, not to the Infantry. The Infantry is not at a point in their time in AEW where they should be winning championships. Let's be honest here. They just started gaining some momentum. At this very moment, what the Infantry is going to be focusing on is building themselves up through great performances. What they need to do is they need to continue to have great matches over and over again, like what Sky Blue was doing. Before Sky Blue partnered up with Julia Hart, Sky Blue, she was losing matches, but Sky Blue was out there grinding each and every single week, putting on great performances against all the top names in the AEW women's division. That's exactly what we need from the Infantry. We need the Infantry to put on great performances one after the other, develop a nice streak for themselves, and then we are going to see the Infantry get more opportunities in terms of more of a showcase in the division, more wins, and potentially title opportunities. And this was a nice step in the right direction for Carly Bravo and Shawn Dean. They were never going to win, but it was a very good match. Not better than the match against FTR, but still a very good match nonetheless. And now the Undisputed Kingdom, they have successfully defended the titles at Supercard, and we move forward into the future. I don't know who's going to take those titles off the Undisputed Kingdom unless they want to have Top Flight or bring in the Motor City Machine Guns and have them do it. It all depends. But for the time being, the Undisputed Kingdom will not be losing the Ring of Honor World Tag Team titles. Billy Starks and Queen Aminata. This was the finals of the Ring of Honor Women's World Television Championship Tournament. And my, oh my, do we have ourselves one strong women's division in Ring of Honor. Let me tell you something. I had no idea who Queen Aminata was up until a couple months ago. No idea who the fuck Queen Aminata was. And then after seeing her performances on AEW TV and then now here on Ring of Honor TV, I'm thinking to myself, man, where the fuck has Queen Aminata been? Where the fuck has this woman been? Why is this woman not signed to a major promotion? I'm not sure how long she's been this good, but holy fuck, Queen Aminata is an absolute fucking beast in that ring. She is one woman in which I do not want to get hit by. Queen Aminata is the definition of a women's professional wrestler. When I look at women's wrestler, I look at Queen Aminata. She almost reminds me of a taller version of Athena. She almost reminds me of Athena. And Billie Starkz, Billie Starkz, forget about it. Billie Starkz, at 19 years old, she wrestles like someone who's been in the business for 10 plus years. Billie Starkz, it is unbelievable. Not even bullshitting you. It is unbelievable how good Billie Starkz is, and she's not even in her fucking 20s yet. It's unbelievable. Makes me unaccomplished. Unaccomplished. This was the finals of the Ring of Honor World TV Championship Tournament for the women. They added a mid-card title for the women's division, and it turned out great. This tournament was very good. It was very well laid out. We got some great action from both sides of the bracket, and we got ourselves a great match to close out the tournament, a great final, and we got ourselves the right winner with a fantastic performance towards the end of this match. So Queen Aminata knocked Billie Starkz silly with a fucking kick. I swear to God, Queen Aminata's kicks are deadly as they come. I do not want to be in the receiving end of any of Queen Aminata's kicks. And then forget about her hip attack. Forget about her hip attack. Her hip attack looks like she's got fucking cinder blocks in her ass. Swear to God. So the crowd was dueling chants. Aminata, Billie Starkz. Starkz then with a neck breaker on the knee for a 2. We had a spinning fisherman neck breaker for a 2 count. Spin kick by Starkz. Clothesline by Aminata. Both women down. Aminata missed the running boot. Starkz went up. Went for the swanton. Aminata moved. Starkz crashed and burned on the apron. We had a diving foot stomp by Aminata off the apron to Billie Starkz. German suplex on the floor. Swanton bomb by Aminata. Worked out beautifully. But Starkz kicked out at 1. Crowd popped. Aminata kept the pressure on with an air raid crash. But Billie Starkz kicks out again. Then we had a hip attack and a running boot by Aminata. Both women were then up on the top. Billie Starkz punched Aminata down. She went for a swanton bomb. Billie Starkz then called for Mike Posey and said that her neck was hurting. And this was fucking amazing right here. This was fucking fantastic. So they sold Billie Starkz as if she really hurt her fucking neck. We had the doctors come in. She was wearing a neck brace. And this was great by the camera crew. Great work by the camera crew. They were shooting Queen Aminata, and Queen Aminata, she was like on the verge of tears. Queen Aminata looked like she was on the verge of tears, and then they panned over to the commentators. They never pan over to the commentators during a match like this. They panned over to the commentators, and I'm here thinking, holy shit, they're going to have to stop this match. They're going to have to stop this match. And I thought that we were going to get Aminata crowned the champion by default because Billie Starkz was injured. So all of a sudden, there was no bell. Now, I wasn't thinking this. I legit thought that Billie Starkz was hurt. So the doctors were carrying Billie Starkz out. And then Queen Aminata, she was holding the ropes open for Billie Starkz. All of a sudden, Billie Starkz just breaks out of this fucking trance, grabs Aminata, crowd pops, locks in a sleeper hold on Aminata, and Aminata passes out, and Billie Starkz wins the Ring of Honor Women's World Television Championship in a great match that had an even greater ending. Billie Starkz, my God, it is unbelievable how good Billie Starkz is. You want to talk about selling? Billie Starkz deserves a fucking Oscar for that performance. And everyone involved deserves a pay raise. Whoever came up with that ending deserves double the pay going forward. That was an absolutely phenomenal way to end that. You know why? Because it showcases Athena and her influence now rubbing off on Billie Starkz. Storytelling. Billie Starkz is absolutely fucking fantastic. This woman sold the shit out of a swanton bomb onto Aminata's knees and made everyone, including myself, believe that she legit hurt her neck. Whoever came up with that ending deserves a pay raise, and everyone involved should be very proud of themselves. The commentators sold it beautifully. Queen Aminata sold it beautifully. The doctors and Billie Starkz herself. And you want to know what the best part about this is? It's the fact that it is showcasing Athena's influence rubbing off on Billie Starkz, the same way that Roman Reigns and his influence was rubbing off on Sami Zayn, to a point where when Billie Starkz turns on Athena and she breaks away, Billie Starkz is going to be the biggest babyface in the Ring of Honor women's division. Her own parents were even disappointed in her. Simple storytelling is the best. Great match between Starkz and Aminata with an even greater ending. Moving on here. We went from that into the Bang Bang Gang. Bang Bang Gang. This is Jay White and the Guns. Bullet Club Gold came out for an open challenge for the Ring of Honor World Six-Man Tag Team Championships. We had Lance Archer and Alex Zane, Monster Sauce, from New Japan Pro Wrestling. They came out and they accepted the challenge. And in addition, their surprise partner was Minoru Suzuki. Now, this was something that I certainly didn't have on my wrestling bingo card. I wasn't expecting this. And to be quite honest with you, this is another match that I really wouldn't have put on the show. If anything, it should have been the Acclaimed versus Bullet Club. It should have been the Acclaimed and Daddy Ass versus Bullet Club Gold for both the AEW and the Ring of Honor World Six-Man Tag Team Championships. That's what it should have been. That's what it should have been. However, I will give credit to everyone in the match. They did what they needed to do, and we ended up getting a fun little match. It served its purpose with the Bullet Club retaining, and that was pretty much that. I didn't really have an issue with it. Matter of fact, the match after this, I fucking hated. The match after this was fucking awful. Now, I was kind of shocked. That Lance Archer, Alex Zane, and Minoru Suzuki accepted the challenge, but I guess that they want to keep the partnership with New Japan Pro Wrestling going. But the match really wasn't anything over the top. It was a fun little match. It did what it needed to do. Jay White ended up retaining the championships for his team with a Blade Runner on Alex Zane, and that was that. Afterwards, in came the Acclaimed and Daddy Ass. Jay White ended up standing tall after hitting a Blade Runner on Bowens, and Bullet Club Gold got out of Dodge as we are headed towards a match at Dynasty. And Dynasty is looking like a pretty damn good match. Looks like Bullet Club Gold is going to be double Trios champions, which I have absolutely zero issue with. Dalton Castle and Johnny TV. This was a fight without honor. This shit was awful. This shit was terrible. I do not understand how we go from that great fight without honor back at Death Before Dishonor back in July last year between the Dark Order and the Righteous. We go from that fight without honor, and it was a fantastic match, perhaps the best match on that show. And then we go from that to this shit. This storyline has fucking sucked. It started out entertaining. I will admit, it started out entertaining between Dalton Castle and Johnny TV. It made sense as to why they were feuding because Johnny TV cost Dalton Castle the TV championship back at Final Battle. That I don't have an issue with. However, I'm not going to sit here and say that the feud's been lighting the world on fire. Feud sucked. It's nothing but bad comedy bullshit. It was entertaining for the first couple of weeks, but afterwards, it just became nothing more than repetitive bullshit. It became nothing more than repetitive bullshit. It's like I was watching, It's almost like I was watching a segment from Monday Night Raw in 2018, like when Sami Zayn brought out Bobby Lashley's sisters. 3 men dressed up in drag. I had flashbacks to that, because that shit sucked. Whatever the fuck was going on with Dalton Castle and Johnny TV, it was doing no favors for either man. Then they booked the fight without honor, and I'm thinking to myself, all right, this feud has absolutely sucked donkey balls, but at least we may get something semi-entertaining. We didn't even get that. We didn't. Barely anything extreme. No real, genuine hatred brewing between the two individuals. And it honestly seems like this was just two friends. It honestly seems like this was just two friends who thought to themselves, you know what? Why don't we go have some fun and act like we hate each other and just do the stupidest shit ever? This looked like it was two high school children putting on a play fight in their backyard. That's what this match felt like. We had the boys getting involved. We had Paul Walter Hausen coming out of the blue, Taya Valkyrie and Johnny TV. Too much shenanigans, too much tomfoolery going on the outside. No blood, no crazy high spots. There was 2 spots in this match. 2 spots in this match that were good. The powerbomb through the table by Johnny TV, and then the bangarang on the thumbtacks. Outside of that, this shit was lame. Not enough extremeness, too much comedy, and the only thing that I can hope for, and the only real positive that came out of this, is that Dalton Castle won, and I hope to fucking Christ, I really do. I hope to fucking Christ that this is the end. This has to be the end. This shit has been going on for nearly 4 fucking months, and it is absolutely fucking exhausting. And I mean fucking exhausting. End it. I don't give a fuck what you even do with them. Just get them away from each other. I'm not sure where Dalton Castle or Johnny TV goes. If anything, you know how you rejuvenate Dalton Castle after this bullshit? Put him in the ring with Mark Briscoe. That's how you rejuvenate Dalton Castle. Dalton Castle wins bangarang on the thumbtacks, and that was that. Thank God we had the last 2 matches on this show, and they were as good as they were. Thank God for Athena. Thank God for Sheeta. Thank God for Eddie Kingston. And thank God for Mark Briscoe. I'm telling you, up until that point, the show was damn near perfect. Johnny TV and Dalton Castle nearly fucked up this whole show. That's how bad it was. Hikaru Shida and Athena. This was for the Ring of Honor Women's World Championship. The longest reigning AEW Women's Champion versus the longest reigning Ring of Honor Women's Champion. Now, I did not have this match penciled in for Supercard, but at the end of it, I'm not going to sit here and tell you that I'm mad about it. These two women are 2 women that Tony Khan should be counting his lucky stars that he has. These 2 women are 2 of the best women in the entire industry right now. And if I was building a wrestling company, these 2 women would be on my top 10 list of talent to get. These 2 women are fucking great at what they do. The match was great. The outcome was wrong. But the match itself, we had some feeling out in the beginning. Just two women trying to gain the upper hand on each other. Athena delivered a pop-up wheelbarrow suplex for a 2 count. She went for the O-face, but it was blocked. She then locked in an ankle lock on Sheeta, and then she transitioned into a knee bar. Sheeta just got to the ropes. Sheeta caught Athena with a knee. Athena was then caught with strong 0 on the ramp. Back in the ring, Shida with a diving Meteora. Athena kicked out. Crowd was chanting, "This is awesome." Athena with a code breaker, and then the minion breaker, I believe she calls it, the Canadian style into a flipping code breaker. That got a 1 count. And then Athena answered right back when she kicked out at 1 after Shida delivered a Falcon Arrow. Athena then with a deadlift powerbomb into a Hurricane Rana onto the floor. Then she still kept the grip, did Athena, and delivered another powerbomb to Shida. Back in the ring, Athena with the O-face. 1, 2, Shida kicks out. And now I'm thinking, all right, this has got to be the end. This has got to be the end of Athena's reign. Shida then went up to the top with Athena. Fireman's carry, backbreaker, Roderick Strong style on the top buckle. Shida then with a Falcon Arrow. She unleashed the katana. 1, 2, Athena kicked out. Great near fall. Shida then exposed the knee. Athena with a slap. Shida with a slap. Athena then with a German suplex. Clothesline. Super kick. Forearm. O-face again. 1, 2, 3. Athena retains the Ring of Honor Women's World Championship. If you do not think that Athena is the number 1 women's wrestler on the planet right now and has been for the last 450 days, you clearly do not know what the fuck you're talking about, and you should not be talking about pro wrestling. Fuck Rhea Ripley. You want number 1? You want to talk about the number 1 women's wrestler on the fucking roster? Athena is the number 1 women's wrestler on the entire roster and in the entire world right now. Matter of fact, I'm still pissed that Athena was not at the top of PW Illustrated's top 200 list for the women. I think Rhea Ripley was at the top. No shit, it was Rhea Ripley because there are a bunch of WWE biased fucks. But Athena is number 1, and she has been number 1 for a long time. However, I'm sorry, I cannot get behind Athena retaining here. I was okay with Athena retaining at Final Battle over Billy Starks. I was okay with that because Billy Starks was not ready to be the face of the women's division. And as we can see, that loss did not harm Billy Starks in any way, shape, or form because now Billy Starks is Ring of Honor Women's World Television Championship holder. She's the holder of that title. So in the end, Billy Starks losing was not the end of the world. Athena did not need to drop the title to a woman who was not ready. But I mean, you take a look at Shida. Shida has been ready. Shida is one of the best that they got. And in addition to that, we're at a point in time right now in which Athena is needed on AEW TV more so than ever. You got the women's division right now in AEW. The women's division right now in AEW is at its strongest, and they're still growing and evolving. They're still getting better. They're still getting better. Why not add Athena to the mix? You already have Shida down there in Ring of Honor. You already have Diamante, Kiera Hogan. You got Billy Starks. You got Queen Aminata. You got Mercedes Martinez. You got a solid foundation of women down there. Why do you still need Athena? Athena should have lost the championship. Then she should have rounded out her feud and her story with Billy. She should have put over Billy at Death Before Dishonor, and then she should have been on AEW TV by the summer. Now, I don't know when the fuck she's going to go up to AEW TV, or if ever. I don't. As we speak right now, Athena is at the top of the food chain, but who is left? Who's left? Athena. She beat Shida. Wrong outcome. Wrong outcome because at this very moment, who is there left for Athena to face? We need to get Athena off of Ring of Honor sooner rather than later and get her on AEW TV permanently because right now the AEW women's division is at its strongest it's been and they're getting better week by week. Why would you not want Athena to be a part of that? But now that she's beaten Shida, it's almost like they've run out of challengers. The only other scenario that I can honestly see is if they run back Willow Nightingale at Death Before Dishonor and do a rematch 1 year in the making, and this time Willow beats Athena. Because if Willow's going to drop the TBS title after she wins it to Mercedes, she's going to need something. Other than that, I don't know who the fuck's going to take the title off of Athena, nor do I know if Athena's going to even make it up to AEW TV permanently. Great match. Do not get me wrong. Great match. Wrong outcome. This should have been the crowning of a new champion, and Athena should have finished out the story with Billy. The main event. It was Mark Briscoe versus Eddie Kingston for the Ring of Honor World Championship, and this was absolutely the best possible scenario to go with. The best possible main event to go with. I predicted it. Months ago. It was going to be Eddie Kingston versus Mark Briscoe for the Ring of Honor World Championship. And that's exactly what we got. The whole story here was pretty simple. It was all about Jay Briscoe. It was all about Mark Briscoe's story and Mark Briscoe rebuilding himself back up from injury and Mark Briscoe winning the championship that Jay won 11 years ago to the day. And Mark Briscoe, a man who wasn't even old enough to compete in Ring of Honor when Jay initially showed up in Ring of Honor. And now Mark Briscoe, out of everyone, finally getting his moment. That was the whole story. And there was no better man to do it against than Eddie Kingston. The only other man that could have possibly been a great, and I mean a great person for Mark Briscoe to beat and finish out his story would probably be Samoa Joe. But they had Joe foolishly relinquish the Ring of Honor World Television Championship. And that was that. So we get this match, and this match was everything that it should have been. And even though it was a great moment, I still cannot put this match above Fletcher and Lee Johnson. I know that there's going to be a lot of people that are going to favor this match because of the moment. But if I'm going to go with the best match of the night, it's going to go to Fletcher and it's going to go to Lee Johnson. However, that did not take away from the main event because this main event was an excellent main event and an even better moment for Mark Briscoe. It had everything that you wanted. It had storytelling. It had blood. It had the crowd chanting, "Man up, man up, man up." Eddie Kingston unleashing that old Eddie Kingston. We saw a little bit of that classic, vicious Eddie Kingston as well. The one that doesn't give a fuck. The one that will go to any lengths possible in order to beat someone down so fucking senselessly. So senselessly. And he will enjoy every fucking minute of it. Briscoe tried to keep the pressure on Eddie Kingston. We had a Fisherman Buster for a 2 count. We had a blockbuster off the apron. Rolling Death Valley Driver. Briscoe with the froggy bow. 1, 2. Kingston kicks out. We had a T-bone suplex by Kingston. Uranage by Briscoe. T-bone by Kingston. Uranage by Briscoe. Double clothesline. Both men are down. Both men now on the apron. We had an exploder suplex off of the apron onto the floor by Kingston. Briscoe was essentially out. Both men just beat the count into the ring. Both men were then slapping each other back and forth, going one after the other. Kingston, half and half suplex. He hit the Hurricane. 1, 2. Briscoe kicks out again. We had a discus lariat by Eddie Kingston. All of a sudden, we had a back fist again. Mark Briscoe hyped himself up, hit the enziguri. He hit the cutthroat driver. Eddie Kingston kicked out. And now, Mark Briscoe, he locked in the J Driller, hooked him up, J Driller into the mat. 1, 2, 3. Mark Briscoe wins the big one. Excellent main event. And an even greater moment, we had the streamers. We had the Ring of Honor locker room emptying to celebrate with Mark Briscoe. We had his father there, and Eddie Kingston and Mark Briscoe embraced as we got ourselves a great feel-good moment with Mark Briscoe finally winning the big one, finally winning a singles title and winning the Ring of Honor World Championship. There was no better match to do for the Ring of Honor World Championship at Supercard other than Kingston and Briscoe. And Eddie Kingston, even though he lost, Eddie Kingston just continues to add on top of his resume that he's built in AEW and Ring of Honor. Eddie Kingston, main events, 2 straight Supercard of Honor shows in a row. He made events 2 straight Supercard of Honor shows in a row, and Eddie Kingston fights for the World Championship twice in a row, puts on another banger of a match, and Eddie Kingston, he now takes that credibility that he generated from being the American Triple Crown. He transferred the Continental Crown to Okada. Now he transferred the Ring of Honor World title to Briscoe, and it was the best possible scenario. Minus the fight without honor. Because it was awful. This was a great show. It was a great show. And again, I will state, if Tony Khan put some effort into Ring of Honor, we would all be sitting there on Thursdays watching Ring of Honor intently. We really would. And I really do hope that we do get some genuine effort put into Ring of Honor, because Ring of Honor has a great fucking roster. If we get some structure and effort, if we get a full-blown roster split between Ring of Honor and AEW, it is going to work out perfectly. It really will. We then move to NXT, Stand and Deliver. If you're putting a gun to my head and you want me to tell you objectively which one was the better show, clear as day, Ring of Honor, Supercard of Honor was the better show. But NXT Stand and Deliver, they needed to build off of what they built off of at Vengeance Day. Now, NXT really hasn't had anything going for it. It's been very lukewarm. It's been very bland. It's been very, very lackluster. The only good thing about NXT has been the Carmelo Hayes and Trick Williams storyline. But again, similar to Ring of Honor, the bad booking and the terrible weekly programming that we get on Tuesdays, it really does take away from the fact that the NXT roster is great. The NXT roster is fucking loaded. The NXT roster is a phenomenal fucking crop of talent. And after this show and some of the matches that we saw on this show, it's clear as day that if we actually had some proper creative and we moved away from this cinema shit, or if anything, it's bad cinema, it's shitty cinema. If we move away from this shitty cinema and we focus on pro wrestling, the NXT brand could have a rejuvenation period. It really could. So the pre-show, Shawn Spears and Joe Gacy. Now, Ridge Holland, I don't know why he did this, but he just bashed Joe Gacy in the back with a steel chair during his entrance before the match even began. Now, this match really had zero heat going into it. However, similar to the Stardom match, I do have to say that we ended up getting a fairly decent match between these two guys. Shawn Spears, I think we all know how good Shawn Spears is. Shawn Spears is one of the most underrated talents that we have in the industry right now. And Joe Gacy has always been a good wrestler. The problem with Joe Gacy is that they haven't been giving him the proper opportunity to showcase what he can really do. And now that they got Joe Gacy kind of being this mentally unstable goof that just shows up anywhere and does whatever the fuck he wants, it's almost as if Joe Gacy has seen a bit of a rejuvenation, and they're giving Joe Gacy more of an opportunity to showcase to everyone what he can really do in the ring. And that I appreciate. And even though there was no heat going into this, we ended up getting a fairly decent match, and it ended with Joe Gacy actually taking the win here today at Stand and Deliver. I actually didn't mind this. Normally, I'd be shitting all over this and say that, oh, Shawn Spears, he left AEW just to job to Joe Gacy on the pre-show. That may be true. That may be true, but I can't really say that I'm mad about Joe Gacy winning, because if you take a look at Joe Gacy and his portrayal, ever since they broke up Schism, Joe Gacy has essentially been a glorified enhancement talent. And Shawn Spears, I mean, he just got there. Shawn Spears hasn't even had the proper opportunity to rejuvenate some credibility in himself. So I do not mind. I really don't. I do not mind the fact that Shawn Spears took a loss here. After everything that Joe Gacy has done, and after all the people that Joe Gacy has put over, I can't really sit here and say that I'm mad about Joe Gacy winning. Give him a win. Give him a win. I have no problem with it. He's a very good wrestler. He's been doing a lot of jobs. Why not throw him a bone? Joe Gacy gets the win over Shawn Spears in what was a match that was better than expected. Although it's nothing to go back and rewatch, it was better than expected. Can't really sit here and bitch about it too much. The main show. The main show started off with Metaphor doing a cold open, and they all dressed up as the individuals that were competing on Stand and Deliver. They dressed up as Chase U. They dressed up as Dijak. They were in the barbershop, the same barbershop that Carmelo Hayes and Trick Williams were in, right? I didn't mind the open. It was actually a lot less cringe than I thought it was going to be. The show kicked off with Axiom and Nathan Frazer versus the Wolf Dogs. This is Baron Corbin and Braun Breaker. You know, if there's one match that I was looking forward to, it was this match, because you take a look at the talent in this match. Axiom is fucking great. Nathan Frazer's fucking great. Braun Breaker's a fucking world champion in a couple years. Baron Corbin, he's always been a good wrestler. He's just had terrible creative. And after watching this match, I'm thinking to myself, man, Baron Corbin has had a career rejuvenation in NXT, and I'm actually happy for him. I'm actually excited to go out of my way to watch Baron Corbin matches. And it's because they paired him with Braun Breaker, and they gave him the opportunity to win the Dusty Cup. He had a couple of main events against Ilya, and he's been able to showcase to everyone what he can really do in the ring versus trying to shove him down our throats in terms of shitty-ass character development, whether it be the Constable Corbin, TGI Fridays Corbin, King Corbin, Burger King on Crack Corbin, Bum-ass Corbin, JBL, stupid-ass Happy Corbin. Now, this gimmick here is the closest to the lone wolf mentality that we've seen. And this gimmick, combined with the fact that he's with a fucking stud known as Braun Breaker, this has done nothing but good for Baron Corbin. And I'm very, very happy that he's rejuvenated his career, because I want to see people succeed. I do. I want to see everyone possible succeed. But WWE wasn't giving me a reason to want to see Baron Corbin succeed. Now I want to see him succeed because they got him right. And Axiom and Nathan Frazer, forget about it. Axiom and Nathan Frazer are fucking great. Now, I thought it was going to be the OC versus the Wolf Dogs. However, similar to Lee Johnson and Kyle Fletcher, I didn't mind Axiom and Nathan Frazer because Baron Corbin and Braun Breaker legitimately just won the tag team titles 2 months ago. So why would you take the titles off of Braun Breaker and Baron Corbin to give them to the OC when the Wolf Dogs right now, they are one of the hotter acts in NXT? The people were actually chanting for Baron Corbin. It's the last time you heard that. It's unbelievable. But the match itself, it went about 12, 13 minutes, and it was a very, very, very good opener. Very good opener. And even though it went like 12, 13 minutes, these two teams did a lot in the 12, 13 minutes. So Axiom and Nathan Frazer, they took over early on. Crowd was really into Corbin. Corbin with a Death Valley driver and then a brainbuster on Axiom for a 2 count. Braun Breaker with a lariat knocked Axiom inside out. Looked fucking brutal. Axiom, he came back with a Spanish fly, tagged to Frazer. Frazer with a moonsault into a reverse DDT. Standing shooting star press for a 2. Deep 6 by Corbin. Golden ratio on Braun Breaker. 1, 2. Braun kicked out. Crowd was chanting NXT. Braun with a Frankensteiner. Corbin tried to catch Axiom into a Hurricane Rana, into a powerbomb. Hurricane Rana by Braun Breaker from the middle rope. And then Corbin tried to catch Axiom into a powerbomb. Looked kind of sloppy, but he did what he could. Frazer ended up saving it. Crowd was chanting, "This is awesome." Things really started to break down. Braun went up to the top, tagged to Frazer. Axiom with an avalanche Spanish fly. Avalanche Spanish fly looked absolutely fucking gorgeous. And then we had ourselves a springboard 450 by Frazer. Braun kicked out. Braun then, with an avalanche back superplex, flipped Frazer inside out. Frazer landed right on his stomach. Tagged to Corbin. Corbin went up to the top and delivered a diving splash off the top onto Frazer. Looked a little sloppy at first, but it was a splash nonetheless. Corbin taking some risks. 1, 2, Frazer kicked out. Breaker then sent himself into the steps, and Frazer and Axiom dove off the table to take out Corbin. Axiom then with an enziguri. Frazer went up. Phoenix Splash. This is where I thought they were going to win the tag team titles here, but Braun Breaker saved it. Crowd was chanting NXT, NXT, NXT. Baron Corbin delivered the end of days, which resulted in Braun Breaker hitting a spear. End of days, spear combination. Corbin covers 1, 2, 3, and the Wolf Dogs retain the tag team titles in what was a very good match for what it was, and it had the right outcome. You're not going to take the titles off of the Wolf Dogs now, when the Wolf Dogs, as we speak, are one of the best acts on the brand. So good for Baron Corbin, good for Braun Breaker, and Axiom and Nathan Frazer. If you are not watching these guys and you are not a fan of these guys, then I don't know what to fucking tell you, because these guys are fucking great. Nathan Frazer, I mean, he's essentially Seth Rollins 2.0. I would say he's actually better than Seth Rollins. I mean, go figure. Seth Rollins trained him. Very good match to kick off the show. Dijak versus Josh Briggs versus Oba Femi. Triple threat match for the NXT North American Championship. Now, I had been very, very hard on Oba Femi. I stated that when Oba Femi initially won the NXT North American Championship, I stated that he wasn't ready. And that was true. That was true that he wasn't ready. Back when he won the title, he was very green. He was very, very bland. It seemed like he was just another big guy that WWE is pushing to the forefront simply because of his size and his size only. I don't know if he was listening to me, but it seems as though he may have at least heard some of the criticisms, because over the last 3 months, I got to give credit where credit's due. I've always been a fair guy. I've always tried to be objective, and I'm not going to stop now. I was hard on Oba Femi initially, rightfully so. But now, after seeing this match, I think that I'm going to start giving Oba Femi a lot more credit. I'm going to start giving him a lot more credit because what he did here, where he was 3 months ago versus where he is now, it seems as though it was two different Obafemis. This was Obafemi's best performance to date. He looked like a fucking beast in there. He was doing all sorts of different moves. He was doing power bombs. He was doing one-armed spine busters. He had Dijak and Briggs up there in an electric chair drop, and both men were on his shoulders, and all of them came tumbling down like a Jenga tower. I got to give Obafemi credit. Obafemi, I'm not sure what he did in the last 3 months, but clearly, Obafemi, he knows what he's doing. And then Josh Briggs. This was a coming out party for Josh Briggs. I was very, very skeptical about Josh Briggs breaking away from Brooks Jensen. I still am. But Josh Briggs, holy shit, can Josh Briggs fucking wrestle? Josh Briggs is one hell of a professional wrestler. And that is something that I can get behind. Josh Briggs did not look out of place here whatsoever. Now, Dijak clearly, he was the guy that I had penciled in to win this match. He didn't, but I can't say I'm mad about it. And I'm going to explain why after we go over the specifics of this match. So, Briggs, he tried to keep Dijak at bay. We had Obafemi in an announce table chair on the outside. Josh Briggs goozled Dijak and chokeslammed him from the top rope through the air onto Obafemi while Obafemi was in the announce chair. Probably the best spot of the entire fucking show. Awesome fucking stuff. So back in the ring, we had a double choke slam by Femi. Oba with a double spine buster. One man each arm. We had a back superplex on the apron to Femi. We had a boot by Briggs to Dijak. Dijak kicked out. Femi was then sent to the floor. Briggs with a clothesline to Dijak off of the top. I see that Josh Briggs was taking wrestling classes from Konosuke Takeshita because Josh Briggs breaking out the top rope corner clothesline. Everyone started trading kicks and punches. We had Obafemi being sent to the floor. Kicked by Dijak. Briggs kicked out. High Justice by Dijak. Briggs kicked out. He kicked out at 1, by the way. Briggs caught with a Canadian Destroyer, which looked awesome. 1, 2, Briggs kicked out. Crowd was chanting NXT, NXT, NXT. Dijak climbed the corner with Briggs on his shoulders. And then in came Femi. Femi had Dijak on his shoulders while Dijak had Briggs on his shoulders, and they all came tumbling down in a Death Valley Driver electric chair combination that looked fucking awesome. So Dijak was able to save the match. Dijak with a couple of boots, cyclone kick, feast your eyes, moonsault by Briggs onto Oba. Briggs was taken out, feast your eyes on Obafemi. 1, 2. Briggs pulled the referee out of the ring. Crowd was chanting bullshit. They clearly wanted Dijak, and so did I. Afterwards, the crowd was chanting, "This is awesome." Dijak with a Tope Con Hero on Briggs. He then hit Feast Your Eyes again on the floor. Obafemi goozled him, and then Obafemi was about to take out Dijak before Briggs came in and shoulder tackled. He shoulder tackled Obafemi through the barricade. That looked fucking awesome. It seemed as though Dijak had the match won. Feast Your Eyes connects in the ring. Obafemi grabs Dijak up by the throat. He delivers a pop-up powerbomb onto Dijak, onto Briggs. Dijak is effectively out of the equation. Obafemi pins Josh Briggs. 1, 2, 3, and Obafemi retains the NXT North American Championship. I gotta give my props to Obafemi. I really do. Obafemi, I said, was not ready back when he first won the NXT North American Championship, which was true. I don't know what the fuck he did, but it seemed as though he grew and evolved at such a rapid pace to a point where you take a look at him from 3 months ago, it is two different Obafemis. This was Obafemi's best performance here with Briggs and Dijak. I had Dijak penciled in to win, but I can't even be mad that Dijak didn't win after that performance that Obafemi put on. And in addition to that, Obafemi, he won the title 3 months ago. You're not going to take the title off of Obafemi after only 3 months. So I have no problem with Obafemi taking the win because he pinned Josh Briggs. And then at the next NXT event, we can build up Oba versus Dijak one-on-one, and then Dijak will finally get a championship. But as far as Obafemi goes, he has evolved tremendously from where he was 3 months ago. We got 6-woman tag team action. This was Kiana James, Izzy Dame, and JC Jane versus Thea Hale, Fallon Henley, and Kalani Jordan. Clearly, this was placed in the right spot after the first two matches, which was probably the best 1-2 punch that NXT has delivered in quite some time. This was the filler match. This was the match to calm everyone down a bit and kind of settle everyone back in before we get into the main event matches. Now, if you're asking me, well, why are you being more negative here than you were about the Stardom match? Listen, I'm going to tell you this. Both of those matches shouldn't have been on their respective shows. But if I am to pick one match, I am going to go with the Supercard of Honor Stardom match to be the better match because that match had more fluidity and those women worked a little bit better than the women here on NXT Stand and Deliver. Not to say that the women here in the NXT Women's Division didn't work hard. They worked very hard. Kalani Jordan is great. Thea Hale, she's coming into her own right. Kiana James has always been great. But at the end of the day, I mean, no one really gives a fuck about anyone in this match minus Thea Hale because they just want to see Thea Hale get her hands on JC Jane. And thank God that feud is over. Thea Hale ended up winning the match via a Kimura lock and a tap out by Izzy Dame. And that was pretty much that. Piss break match, if I've ever seen one. Again, I will state all of the women worked very hard. But little to no one cared because they have not built up the women's division as anything important. You take a look at the NXT women's division as we speak right now, not even the people in the main event scene of the women's division feel important. I mean, just look at what happened with Roxanne and Lyra. They actually put on a solid match, but the crowd was half dead for the first 75% of the match. And we'll go over that in a little bit. However, I feel as though after NXT Stand and Deliver, we're going to get a nice hard reset. We're going to get a nice hard reset for the NXT Women's Division for two reasons. Number one, Julia from New Japan Pro Wrestling and Stardom. Julia was shown in the crowd at Stand and Deliver. I think that Julia is going to be NXT Women's Champion sooner than anyone even anticipates. And the second thing, and I am very, very pleased to see this, Ava, The Rock's daughter, the nepotism general manager. I'm sure The Rock will find that very entertaining, right? Ava announced that the NXT brand will crown the first ever women's North American champion. Now this is a great move. Matter of fact, this is an awesome fucking move. Ava announced that NXT will crown the first ever NXT Women's North American Champion. This is an excellent creative decision. And you know why? It's because the NXT Women's Division has been completely mishandled to the highest of high. Instead of actually building a division around competitive women's matches, Shawn Michaels would rather build the division around shitty soap opera drama, high school drama angles. That is how the women's division in NXT is perceived. This edition of the NXT Women's North American Championship, this needs to be a reset for the division. Do not shaft these women. Give all the matches ample amount of time. Move away from this shitty soap opera drama and focus on building the division around the in-ring talents of each and every single woman in that division. That's how you rejuvenate the NXT Women's division. Speaking of the women's division and how it needs a rejuvenation, Roxanne Perez and Lyra Valkyria. This was for the NXT Women's Championship. This was not as good as I thought it was going to be. Matter of fact, the matchup back at NXT Vengeance Day with Lyra and Roxanne, and then the addition of Lola Vice, those three women put on a better match than just Lyra and Roxanne. And I don't even know what it's from. I'm not going to chalk it up to Roxanne or Lyra. I'm not. Because those two women are great. Although I can't really take Roxanne Perez seriously as a heel because you just look at her and all you see is the most adorable female on the planet. But I'm going to chalk it up to two things. I'm chalking up this match not having the fan reaction that it should have had because of A, the match was poorly produced. The match was way too slow in the first half, way too fucking slow. And number two, Lyra Valkyria's women's title reign has been terrible. Not terrible in the sense of Lyra is a terrible wrestler. No, it has been terrible because they have not given her anything to fucking work with. Lyra Valkyria has essentially been doing nothing. It took Lyra 4 fucking months. It took Lyra 4 months. From October to February, it took her 4 months to actually get a great match underneath her belt at Vengeance Day. That match at Vengeance Day was Lyra's best match as champion. That triple threat match. Or the singles match that became the triple threat match. Lyra Valkyria has been given absolutely nothing to work with. No credible challengers. They've been shafting her from an in-ring perspective. They gave her and Blair Davenport all but 10 fucking minutes at NXT New Year's Evil. And then, on top of that, the Tatum Paxley storyline has absolutely sucked balls. The Tatum Paxley storyline is nothing more than a fucking rehash of the Mickie James and Trish Stratus storyline to a point where I don't know how anyone genuinely gives a fuck about it. Tatum Paxley, let me tell you something. When it comes to shit like that, I want to see legitimate women's wrestling. I do not want to see obsessive fandom storylines. That shit is outdated. So those two factors, the poor match production and the fact that Lyra's been handled like shit, it doesn't lead to a match that is pay-per-view worthy. Was it a bad match? No. No, it was not a bad match, but they didn't wake the crowd up until the last 3 minutes of the match. Up until the last 3 minutes of the match, the crowd was half dead. And you know what? That's not right. That's not right whatsoever. And even in the biggest NXT event of the year, even at Stand and Deliver with Lyra and Roxanne Perez, even when we got the brightest lights on these two women, two of the best women on the roster, they still could not fucking help themselves, and they inserted Tatum Paxley into the match for about 30 seconds. 30 seconds is all it took, and shit went south. I don't know how anyone can sit here and be happy with the booking of Lyra and the booking of this match. Now then, one more time. I am not shitting on the match because of Lyra or Roxanne. It has everything to do with the creative booking of Lyra Valkyria and the poor match production. This match was way too slow and way too methodical in the beginning. This should have been two women going balls to the wall, just like Mark Briscoe and Eddie Kingston went balls to the wall at Supercard. This should have been these two women going balls to the wall, proving to everyone why they are the best female athletes on the planet. There should have been no restrictions. There should have been no methodical limb work. There should have been no joint manipulation or anything like that. This should have been boom, 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 action. That's what we should have gotten, and we didn't. Although I will say, the closing sequence of this match was excellent. The closing sequence of this match saw Roxanne Perez and Lyra Valkyria deliver roll-up after roll-up before Roxanne came out of nowhere with a Poison Rana. Poison Rana out of nowhere, pop rocks, crossface locked in deep. Perez adjusted herself and locked it in further away from the ropes, and Lyra Valkyria had no choice but to tap out, and Roxanne Perez is the new NXT Women's Champion, and I like to hope that Roxanne will actually get a legitimate reign with the championship, and this is not going to be a reign that ends in some sort of feel-good moment for an individual like Indy Hartwell, who should not even be in consideration for a championship. Although, I find it very hard to believe that Perez is going to remain NXT Women's Champion for long, because sooner rather than later, when Julia gets to NXT, when Julia goes in and Julia gets the opportunity to showcase what she can really do, Roxanne Perez's NXT Women's Championship reign is on borrowed time. Her days are numbered. Tony D'Angelo and Ilya Dragunov. This was for the NXT Championship. I was very much looking forward to this match because I wanted to see what Tony D'Angelo could do against a guy like Ilya. And I was very, very pleased to see that Tony D'Angelo, not only did he bring something out of himself, he proved to everyone that he is going to be NXT World Champion at some point in the future. And Ilya Dragunov, forget about Dragunov. Dragunov, at this rate, Dragunov may very well be considered the Russian Bryan Danielson. Every single match that this guy has, he ends up making his opponent look better. And he brings his opponents to their best matches of their careers. And this was no different with Tony D'Angelo. This was easily the best match that Tony D'Angelo has wrestled so far in his young career. And Ilya Dragunov, it just goes to show you that Ilya Dragunov at this point is well above the NXT brand. Now, in my head, I was thinking, well, Tony D'Angelo winning would make sense because we need to get Ilya on the main roster. But then after thinking about it, and after thinking about what was going on with the NXT main event for Stand and Deliver, I actually believe that after the main event, it's clear as day who's going to take the title off of Ilya Dragunov. Tony D'Angelo was merely an interim opponent. Similar to how Lee Johnson was an interim opponent for Kyle Fletcher at Supercard of Honor. Similar to how the Infantry were interim opponents for the Undisputed Kingdom at Supercard of Honor. It's the same thing here. With Tony D'Angelo. He was used as an interim opponent for Ilya Dragunov to get past Stand and Deliver. But at the same point in time, I'm not really mad about it because it gave Tony D'Angelo the opportunity to showcase what he can really do. And Ilya Dragunov brought out the best in Tony D'Angelo. A little slow in the beginning, although I guess I should say it wasn't too slow. It's the fact that the crowd wasn't as lively as they should have been. But regardless of that, the crowd, they woke up a little bit towards the end. And at the end of the match, we ended up with a very good NXT Championship match with Dragunov retaining and Tony D'Angelo being elevated even in defeat. So both men went right after each other. Dragunov with a German suplex barrage. Tony D'Angelo took over. Tony D'Angelo sent Dragunov into the post. Dragunov came back with a Death Valley driver against the barricade. We had a big lariat for a 2 count. Ilya with a power bomb. Tony stopped the H-bomb. Stacks. He then tried to give Tony the brass knuckles. Tony said no. Tony, then, all of a sudden, he was chopped by Ilya, and Ilya stomped on Stacks' hand. Ilya with a DDT. D'Angelo kicked out. Ilya with the forearms. We had a headbutt by D'Angelo. D'Angelo then with a ground and pound. A couple of belly-to-belly suplexes. D'Angelo with a super belly-to-belly off the top. The announce table was then cleared off. We had a hockey fight. We had an H-bomb by Dragunov on the outside. He then put Tony D'Angelo on the announce table and then jumped off of the barricade and delivered an H-bomb off the barricade to D'Angelo through the table, which looked awesome. Crowd was chanting NXT, NXT. Back in the ring. Diving senton. 1, 2. Tony kicked out. Dragunov went for a coast-to-coast. Tony D'Angelo caught him in a powerbomb. That got a 2 count. Tony D with a choke slam. Choke slam connects. But Dragunov kicked out again. Dragunov finally gets the upper hand, hits Torpedo Moscow to the back of the neck. He goes up to the top. Super H-bomb connects. 1, 2, 3. Ilya Dragunov retains the NXT Championship in what was a very good match and easily Tony D'Angelo's best match to date. I do believe that Tony D'Angelo is going to be a world champion, and matches like this are only going to make Tony D'Angelo better. But Ilya Dragunov, he was not losing. He was not losing, and considering what happened in the main event, it's clear as day why he was not losing. The main event was Carmelo Hayes and Trick Williams. Let me tell you something. I have given my props to Trick Williams. I've given my props to Trick Williams, and I've said that he's improved greatly. And the last 2 main event matches that he had, the one against Dragunov at Vengeance Day, and then the one here against Melo, he's proven that he can hang with the best. Trick Williams has proven that he can go in a big match situation. However, I'm not going to sit here and say that Carmelo and Trick should have main evented the show because there was nothing on the line but bragging rights. Yes, it may have been a feud that's been built up over the course of the last 7 months. It may have been a feud that's been built up over the course of the last 2.5 years. But what was on the line? What was on the line? It is a rarity that a world championship should not close the show. And then people want to make it out like this is the best match. This is the biggest match in NXT history. No, it's not. No, it's fucking not. You're going to tell me that this match was bigger than Adam Cole and Keith Lee, which was the match to crown the first ever individual to hold both the NXT World title and the NXT North American title? You're telling me that this was bigger than Gargano and Ciampa at NXT TakeOver New Orleans? You're telling me that this was bigger than Gargano and Cole in NXT TakeOver New York at the Barclays Center, which might I remind you that that match was the best match that the WWE has ever produced since Undertaker and Shawn Michaels at WrestleMania 25, which ironically, Cole and Gargano 1 took place 10 years to the day of Undertaker and Shawn Michaels at WrestleMania 25. But no, Carmelo Hayes and Trick Williams is the biggest match in NXT history. You're placing a ceiling on Carmelo and Trick that they're ultimately never going to break through. And then in addition to that, if this match was going to main event, and how this match was essentially a fucking blood feud, 2 individuals, 2 former friends, now bitter enemies, Why didn't you just make this match unsanctioned? I really don't understand the logic behind this being a normal match. If anything, it being a normal match was insanely counterproductive, and it made this match less than what it could have been. That's the problem that I have here. Carmelo Hayes and Trick Williams, after the match that we saw, and it was a very good match, but it seems as though it just ended like that. It should have gone an extra 5 to 10 more minutes. After what we got, all I can tell you is I was right in when I said Carmelo and Trick should not have main evented. Not even just because of the fact that it wasn't for the world title, but the fact that if you compare it to the world championship match, it did not live up to what the world title match was. Hell, if you wanted to make Carmelo and Trick the main event of NXT Stand and Deliver, why didn't you just make it an unsanctioned match, similar to what you did with Gargano and Ciampa back in 2018 at TakeOver New Orleans? The fact that it wasn't an unsanctioned match made it feel less important and made it less than overall what it could have been if you did make it an unsanctioned match. I don't want to say it was disappointing. But should have easily gone longer. It honestly felt like I was watching a rehash from Seth Rollins and Matt Riddle from Extreme Rules 2022 in the Fight Pit. How that match did not live up to the expectations that we all thought that match was going to live up to. So Melo was toying with Trick early on. The fight spilled into the crowd. Williams mounted a comeback with a flapjack, tilt-a-whirl facebuster by Melo, wheelbarrow neckbreaker, and a cyclone kick by Trick for a 2 count. Springboard clothesline to the outside by Melo. Crowd was chanting, "This is awesome." Melo with a frog splash. That got a 2. Codebreaker by Melo. That got a 2 count. Williams accidentally knocked out the ref. Hayes then with a chop block. He then brought in a steel chair, and Williams beat down Carmelo with a chair. The referee took the chair away. Melo hit a low blow. 1-2, Trick kicked out. Williams then slapped Carmelo. We had a V-trigger by Melo into the referee. Carmelo tried not to waste too much time. Carmelo hit nothing but net. A new referee came in. 1, 2, and Trick kicked out. If I'm not mistaken, I think that Trick became the first man ever to kick out of nothing but net. He became the first match, or the first individual in a match to kick out of nothing but net. Now, I expected that to happen. And you know what? The fact that they had chairs involved in this, again, I don't understand why you didn't just make this an unsanctioned match to begin with. Trick Williams then with a rebound off the rope, and just when it was starting to get going, Trick Williams hits the Trick knee, and Trick Williams gets the win. 1, 2, 3. Trick Williams beats Carmelo Hayes as we expected. Very good match. Could have easily gone a little bit longer, and it shouldn't have been the main event. I'm sorry if that pisses you off, but I quite frankly do not care, because I am not here to cater to your mind-numbing stupidity. I am not here to cater to your bias. I am not biased. I am a realist. And yes, Hooligram, you missed the entire fucking stream. You got to go back and rewatch the stream. In addition to that, both shows I said were very good. Although Ring of Honor Supercard was just a little bit better than Stand and Deliver. But regardless of the fact that Carmelo and Trick shouldn't have main evented, it was a very good match for what it was, but it should have been unsanctioned. If you wanted to main event, it should have gone longer. And in the end, it kind of felt like it was over before it even started. It didn't feel like a match that was worth the culmination of a 7-month story. It almost seemed like WWE was like, we'll do what we need to do, and then we can send Carmelo off to the main roster. Because Trick Williams, he's ultimately about to have another match of his life with Ilya Dragunov, probably at the next NXT pay-per-view. And that's pretty much that. But overall, I will say you take into consideration the NXT title match, you take into consideration the North American title match, and you take into consideration the opening match for the NXT Championship. And I will say that the overall show, NXT Stand and Deliver, was actually a very good show. And similar to what I said in the beginning of the stream, if Tony Khan and Shawn Michaels actually put some genuine effort, I mean some genuine effort into Ring of Honor and NXT, then we would have ourselves two very solid shows to invest our time in on Tuesdays and Thursdays. I said it once, I'll say it again. I'm not a hard guy to please. I'm not. I am not a difficult guy to make happy. All I ask is if I am investing my time and money in a service from someone, entertainment service, landscaping service, food service, house remodeling service, whatever, the only thing that I ask is that you put effort into what you are giving me. Tony Khan and Shawn Michaels, they put effort into the two shows that we saw this weekend. And I would even go so far as to say that this was probably two of the best shows that we've seen in the history of WrestleMania weekend. This was probably the top two best Stand and Delivers and Ring of Honor Supercard of Honors that we've seen from Shawn Michaels and Tony Khan ever since they took over the respective responsibilities of their brands. And I really wish that we would get this sort of effort on Tuesdays and Thursdays, because if we did, the week for wrestling would feel a lot more exciting. Ladies and gentlemen, that's all I got for you. That is all I got for you. We're clocking in just under 2 hours. And another successful dual rewind completed. I will be continuing to upload shorts throughout the week. And I'm going to be covering WrestleMania as per usual. Thank you all. Thank you to Grega John. Thank you to Dylan. Thank you to Adam Carl, the Final Hoss, and Hula Grim. You guys have been awesome. Greatly appreciate each and every single one of you. Do not forget to check out all the links in the description. Like, comment, and subscribe. Tomorrow is the rewind for WrestleMania 40, night number 1 with my good friend, my girl, Billy Ann Wolf. She's going to be joining me tomorrow at 2 p.m. Eastern Time. In addition to that, on Monday at 2 p.m., we are going to have ourselves the rewind for WrestleMania night number 2 before the Raw after WrestleMania. It is going to be one hell of a 1-2 rewind punch for the WrestleMania 40 show. Thank you all one more time. You guys have been awesome, and I'm very, very happy that you guys have been joining me for what has been the biggest, and I mean the biggest week in the history of the DJ Storms brand thus far. And it's only going to get busier as the summer goes on, and then we go into the fall. I'm telling you, this year is going to be the biggest year of the DJ Storms brand thus far. And after this, we got Dynasty, and then I got 80s WrestleCon coming up in the Menon Arena in Morristown, New Jersey on May 4th. It is going to be fucking big. So please set your calendar dates if you want to take a swing on over to 80s WrestleCon. It is going to be a very fun experience, just like it was last year. Until next time, I am DJ Storms. This has been the Rewind for Ring of Honor, Supercard of Honor, and Stand and Deliver. But before we get out of here, let me take a drink. Absolutely glorious. My God, do I love that delicious, that refreshing ice water. Please answer me this question, people. Who runs the IWC? As I comb my glorious sideburn chin strap combo and this beautiful mustache right here, I will tell ya who runs the IWC. Who but DJ motherfucking Storms. And don't you ever forget it.
retribution. Oh yeah, we want retribution. Oh yeah, we want retribution. Oh yeah, we want retribution.